Greetings, true believers. This is Renegade Operative here, and welcome to my first ever one-man comic book podcast, Thingamabob. This is where I talk and rant and speak about all things related to comics, comic book movies, and comic book-oriented video games. Like I said before, I am Renegade Operative, the host of Weaponized Comics. I'm going to call it Weaponized Comics Podcast. WCP. Why the hell not? We're going to get right into things. We're going to pull up our document and we're going to talk about a few topics. Now, once again, this is going to be in a one-man fashion. This is going to be akin to the Revenge Serve Red Gamecast, so that's going to be like done once a month. If I feel like doing comics, I will do this podcast in particular, the Weaponized Comics Podcast. If I feel like doing gaming, I will do Revenge Serve Red, and I will talk about all the gaming news from there. So, let's get into the thick of things. Let's talk about the first topic we have here today, and that is Suicide Squad. I finally seen Suicide Squad, and it's very polarizing to me. Now, let me explain. I have been on the fence with DCEU content for a while now. I really did not like Batman v Superman. I really did not like Man of Steel. I did not see Wonder Woman, but I plan to see it eventually. Let's talk about the problems of Suicide Squad first before we talk about the positives. The stuff that I hated about the movie. Now, granted, I saw the extended cut, so yeah, I might have saw some extra bonuses here or there. But let's start off with that. First things first, the Joker. The Joker was underutilized heavily in this movie. And it seemed like they were trying to re-implement things about the Joker back into the extended cut, but it just didn't really feel right. The Joker is a character who barely cares about Harley Quinn, who doesn't give a shit about her each and every single time. His motivations for not caring about her and caring more about Batman becomes clear. And in this movie, he's constantly rescuing Harley Quinn time and time again as the only method of character development for the Joker. And I did not like that. I did not like it at all. The acting is another story. Jared Leto just tries to convey and emotionalize and really warp his words to a point where it just seems like it's being over exaggerated. And it felt really annoying. I just really was not vibing this incarnation of the Joker at all. I hate him. I hate him. I hate how he is portrayed in this movie. Another thing is the main villain seems like something straight out of a fucking 80s cartoon, world domination. I'm building up a massive army, and it really doesn't feel like there's any threat. The lack of threat just ends when we get to the third act of the movie. The Enchantress is not that intimidating. It feels like she doesn't have control on the situation of being an actual villain. She doesn't feel like she's relatable. She doesn't feel like she's fearsome. All of those traits are gone. She relies on her brother to become, this deity that gets her heart back after Amanda Waller smashed it a few times. I just don't get it. I lose track of the villain's motivations in the third act, and that is very, very bad. Everything should be clear cut on the table. This person is bad because X, Y, and Z, not because I need help from my brother, or I'm building an army, or I'm building a machine, but I don't know how. It feels like the lack of threat is gone. And that's why I didn't like the Enchantress in Suicide Squad. She was a bad villain. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And then we get to a scene in the movie that shows off the bomb threat. What I mean by that is, the Suicide Squad story. Always, every time Amanda Waller tries to get these guys together, she has to have some sort of control over them. So she implants bombs into their heads, and if they don't do what Waller says, she will kill them. That's great, except for the fact that they have this fodder character who gets his head blown off, And then Harley Quinn comes back and they try to kill her, but she cannot have the bomb detonated in her head because plot convenience, plot armor, nanites. What? It's like, what? I I can't explain why they have that convenience. I know Harley Quinn is important, but Jesus Christ, man, they could have written that some other way. It was terrible. The action scenes in Suicide Squad are okay. Nothing really stood out in terms of a fight sequence. Nothing like that. It really felt like these guys just go in, they shoot the shit out of everything. There we go. There was some cool fights with Harley, but again, nothing really stand out. Batman was in the movie for like 10 seconds. He beat the shit out of Deadshot in front of his kid, and also he punched out Harley. So yeah, Batman just was in the movie for like 10 seconds to explain how he captured, Harley and Center of the River in jail so she could later be recruited to the Suicide Squad. I felt as though there could have been a lot more DCEU references peppered throughout the movie, like in more detail. I felt as though they were vague. Yeah, they talked about Man of Steel. Yeah, they talked about Batman. They had the Batman cameo at the end. But I felt there could have been a little bit more to make the threat rise. I mean, I remember in Batman Assault on Arkham, even though Batman wasn't a huge part of that movie for understandable reasons, at least he was a threat to the Suicide Squad. So maybe the movie could have used more of the heroes going up against the villains, since Suicide Squad is a villain-oriented movie. I would have liked to see maybe just more of Batman in one scene, more of Flash in one scene. That would have been pretty crazy if they had that conflict. However, I understand why. But then we get to the roles themselves, and they feel supremely out of place. One thing that I also liked about Batman Assault on Arkham is the Suicide Squad, they hate each other. They can't stand each other, but they must work together to get out of this situation. And there was really none of that outside of a few arguments. Like, there was scenes where Joker was about to actually shoot Deadshot in the face in Batman Assault on Arkham, and there's not those scenes of tension within the Suicide Squad live action movie. I felt sometimes they disliked each other, they had an argument, but it really didn't feel like it embodied the fact that they were this big dysfunctional group that really would kill each other the first chance they got. It's a few scenes like that, but it's not really expanded upon. And everything at the end feels like everything's hunky-dory for them, Even though Deadshot feels betrayed by Rick Flag at one point, he really doesn't cut and run. And it seems like everyone else in the movie, if they really don't stand each other, they try to run away. And it really doesn't work out too well. It always goes awry, So that is one thing I didn't like about the movie. I also didn't like that a lot of characters feel vastly underutilized. I'm talking about people like Killer Croc. Most definitely him, man. He was a walking punchline in this movie. And that's pretty sad, because I feel as though if you have a movie about the Suicide Squad, they should have equal screen presence. Like, each and every step of the way, those characters should be interesting. But I didn't like certain characters in this movie at all. I felt as though Rick Flag, Deadshot, and Harley Quinn, and maybe Amanda Waller, they were center stage. All the other characters, props. Captain Boomerang, he was funny. He had some nice chemistry, but he was a prop. He really didn't feel important. He really didn't. And it's a shame. Like, I'm 50-50 about this movie, for real. The good stuff, they had good music. Some of the writing for the characters were good. Some of the jokes came off nice. I really like the visuals. It's a pretty movie. It looks very good. And the stuff that they have with the special effects, I enjoyed that stuff. Really, I did in Suicide Squad. I felt as though the lighthearted tone really worked for this movie. Because, I mean, it's a movie about a dysfunctional group trying to work together to not get killed. That tone works perfectly. If it would have been grimdark, I think I would have hated this movie even more. So Suicide Squad, yeah, I wasn't really feeling it, and I only saw it like one time, so I had to view it like some more. But the extended cut, it added in more Joker, and it really didn't feel significant. So Suicide Squad, yeah, it's definitely, to me, in my opinion, an average movie. Alright, so we have a bullet point here. Supposedly, the actress for Enchantress in Suicide Squad will not be possibly returning to the sequel. To which I say, good. I didn't like that character. I did not like her as a main villain. Maybe it's time to have someone else that feels more intimidating for the Suicide Squad. I really don't have much to say about it other than the fact that this is probably a good idea, you know. The next thing we have is M'Baku's name change in Black Panther. So apparently Marvel talked about changing a character called Manape in Black Panther because they felt his name was going to be racially insensitive to his character. He's playing a black male, so they felt they needed to change this. So his name is M'Baku now, and that has not changed. My thoughts on this, I can see why Marvel did this because, let's be honest, we live in an age where people will cry racism, sexism, 24/7, 7 days a week. It just happens. Some people get upset, some people get triggered. It's nothing you can really do sometimes. Now, granted, I don't think they should be censoring characters because if the character is comic accurate, then I do think that ties back into the nature of that character. So if people are getting triggered, who cares? Who really cares? Go back and read a comic. Go read the comic. Go read the comic origins. When people were getting so pissed that Finn Jones was playing Iron Fist, even though I understand, yes, he wasn't that great as Iron Fist, but Iron Fist was a Caucasian character originally, at least for Danny Rand. What pisses me off about Marvel Comics is that if you're going to change a character's race or something like that, at least make some significance to their character. Don't just do it for no reason. Make that character still the way they are. Stop changing origins to tailor to people who want more diversity in comics when there has been diversity in comics for years. But the Man-Ape thing is not really a big deal. At least the character will still be in the movie. It's quite funny because they're changing around this character's origins, and he was tied to an ape when Black Panther is tied to a Black Panther, and no one's really getting super triggered. Well, maybe they are. Maybe. What am I saying? What am I saying? Is there rational people in this world anymore sometimes? What am I saying? Like, some people got mad at the cast and crew being a predominantly African American cast in Black Panther when Wakanda is in Africa. It blows my mind. I still would say those people should read a comic. I understand why they made this change. They don't want to upset anyone. They don't want to piss anyone off. They don't want to step on anyone's toes. And at least the character is still in the movie, so I'm glad he wasn't removed entirely. So M'Baku, his name is changing. His alter ego Manape is changing, but he's still going to be in this movie. So I still cannot wait to see Black Panther. I don't care what anyone says, really. I'm looking forward to it. Next up, we have the DCEU yet again releasing some movies. We have 2 untitled films that are going to release on February 14th, 2020 and June 5th, 2020. But also, you have to remember that if they haven't delayed it by now, Cyborg is coming out on April 3rd, 2020, and the Green Lantern Corps is coming out on July 24th, 2020. All of these movies are relatively close to each other. Very, very close. I don't see how it's going to work. I just don't see it going over so well in the box office because these movies are relatively close in production. Maybe if they moved these untitled films out Move all these movies out to the end of the year. Maybe it'll make better sense. But as it stands now, everything is looking too close, too overcrowded, too disorganized. I have a bullet point here. The DCEU needs to make a better film production schedule, and they need to start spreading out stuff more over time. Don't just make a movie, say a character's in it, and call it a day. That's not really exciting. That's not really organized. That's really disorganized. You have so many movies coming out. You got Wonder Woman 2 now. That's going to be added to the slot because Wonder Woman went off so well. Then you have Nightwing, Gotham City Sirens. There's a lot to take in right here. They're just announcing movies with no structure. And I figure if they have structure, if they have organization, if they have the time to really say, we're going to plan the movie out, it's going to be a big budget AAA movie, we're going to pour tons of money into it, tons of time, tons of love, and tons of care, it will come out way better than expected. You guys are in a good position right now with Wonder Woman. Don't fuck that up. Don't fuck that up. Because if you fuck that up, you're going right back to the shitter. You're going right back to it. And I feel as though they really need to give these movies that time, especially Wonder Woman 2, since the first one went over so well. I mean, I heard they actually rushed Suicide Squad, and rushing a movie is bad for business. It's bad, period. If you don't get that return back, it's really bad. And now the Batman is having problems. We're going to talk about that. That's going to be a nice little segue here. Okay, so I'm sure everyone heard the rumors. Apparently, Matt Reeves has scrapped Ben Affleck's script for the Batman, and he is doing another rewrite by scratch. Now, rewrites, they are pretty much common in the movie industry. Sometimes a script just isn't good. Sometimes we feel as though we could write something in that will make a scene better. Sometimes we want that creative control. However, the Batman had massive rewrites. It doesn't seem like it's going in a position where things are progressing forward. We know how big of a name Batman is. We know why Warner Brothers, they really want to get this movie running. They want to get the ball rolling. They want to get this movie out as soon as they possibly can. But if they're having all these production issues, then guess what? It's going to affect the movie in the long run if they choose to rush it out. I think personally, if you want my opinion, and I know people might disagree with it, but I think the Batman should go on hiatus. Put this movie on hiatus. If you really cannot deliver a quality product, put it on hiatus, come back to it later, you will do wonders. You never really know. Matt Reeves, he is a great director. I think he did War of the Planet of the Apes, if I'm not too mistaken. Correct me if wrong, but I think he directed that movie and it was pretty stellar. It has critical acclaim. So I think he has the directing chops. I just hope Ben sticks in there because, I mean, I am just surprised that Ben did not walk from this movie. I am very surprised. They threw away his script. He's not director anymore. I am surprised he did not walk. It's amazing, but, you know, DC is probably filling up his pockets. So that's the thing. The only real concern I have is that are they going to keep Deathstroke? Remember, Deathstroke was teased to be the villain in the Batman. Are they still going to keep him, or was that Ben's idea and you're throwing that in the trash? They better not. They better not, because Ben showing off Deathstroke and the actor involved, that was probably the most exciting thing I saw about the Batman. Everything else has been hush hush. Really has. So let's move on to the next topic. I know I've been rambling, but we have some more. We have the topic of comic book pickups. For the most part, I haven't been reading anything lately. Actually, last month, I was reading comics the most because I just recently got into the Injustice series of comic books, and I've been really enjoying them. I like the fact that the Suicide Squad is in there. They have this imposter Batman. He's been fucking up Bruce's day. I'm wondering to see where that storyline will go. At the time, I think the last time I read it, basically there was this funny scene where Green Arrow, Green Arrow, he gets a proposal from his wife, Black Canary. She gets on one knee, and Batman, he's right there behind him, and he's like, Green Arrow turns to him, and he's like, can you go away for a second, please? This is fucking creepy. And Batman just like disappears. I thought that was really funny. So I'm still reading through it. I haven't quite got into the meat of those comics yet. I might actually just go back and review like more copies of the Injustice comic because it's so long. Like, I stopped on comic 4 or 5. I wrote a review, and now it's like jumped into the 12th issue, and I'm like, fuck, man, how do I keep up with all this? So now it's like, when I do comic reviews now, I'm just going to do multiple comics at the same time and put them all into one big review. One giant clusterfuck of a video, So I might do something like that. I've been reading Dead Space, the comic book, the first Dead Space comic. So that has been quite interesting. The art sucks. I'm not gonna lie, the art is terrible, man. It's so bad. The characters have like disformed faces and fingers. I know it's Dead Space and all, but I'm talking about like the human unitologists. They look awful. And I don't like it. I like how it's gritty and grimy, but at the same time, it's not really picking up for me. That one it's really weird. I gotta get through the rest of it. I only read the first issue. And for the most part, it was okay. Nothing really too spectacular or special. You're just basically going through the lives of the workers in a mining station. And basically all of the events go to shit, because if you played Dead Space before, then you know that when someone gets their hands on a marker and puts it on a planet and people live there, that's bad business. That's bad juju, dog. Like, seriously, you don't want none of that. But they get their hands on a marker and someone starts to wig out and someone gets killed, and it all starts to go downhill from there, I assume. I think the comics are going to get more grotesque. They're going to get more worse as people's minds start to degrade at the hands of the marker. And I cannot wait to finish off this series. I'm going to talk about it more on my channel. Next, we have The Punisher Slavers. This was the run done by Garth Ennis, I believe, back in the 2000s, early, mid-2000s, whatever. And I read some of that, and I really enjoyed Ennis's interpretation of the Punisher. Probably one of the best interpretations of Frank Castle as the Punisher I've seen, because, these characters are so interesting and they do the most nefarious shit ever. And it's so uncensored and brutal, man. And they touch up on subjects like drug trafficking and slave labor, and you see the real horror of these effects on people in their everyday lives. And I've been reading The Punisher Slavers, and I'm like, man, this is really good. This could really make for a good, gritty crime drama. This is something that I'm hoping that the Punisher Netflix series, I hope they really capture this essence, because the Punisher is basically the fucking boogeyman. He goes around, he kills, he leaves, but the people around him, the people he fights, all the fucked up, corrupt people in the world are interesting. And they basically convey those comics. So I'm really enjoying the Punisher Slavers. I'm going to read the rest of the Punisher Max series from Ennis, and it's going to be really good, I know. Alright, so even though I said I was going to regulate gaming news on the Revenge Serve Red Gamecast, I'm still going to talk about comics and games if they intertwine on this podcast. Telltale is a perfect example, because they dropped 3 announcements that are really exciting, and they are indeed related to comics. First thing is first, I have some gripes with Telltale. You you motherfuckers, sometimes you are my public enemy. Because one thing they do is they make these interesting, unique stories and characters, but sometimes they crap the bed. Let me explain. There was a time where in the Batman series, Telltale's Batman, they made you have the choice to save Harvey Dent. And even though you save him and his face doesn't get horribly disfigured, he still turns into Two-Face. And I'm like, Telltale, what the hell? There's characters that were in The Walking Dead. And spoilers, this is going to be a spoiler-oriented podcast. But there are some choices in Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 3 that pisses me off. One in particular was the choice to save Trip or Ava. Two favorite characters that the player might like. If you pick your favorite character, then your favorite character dies. While it's an interesting concept, I can see people getting pissed off at the slogan, your choice always matters. No, it doesn't. It doesn't, but I still like the stories. I still like what Telltale creates. It's interesting to see. And they announced 3 games. They announced The Wolf Among Us Season 2. They announced Telltale's The Walking Dead, the final season. And they announced Batman, The Enemy Within. Basically, Telltale's Batman Season 2. I am highly looking forward to all of these, actually. I enjoyed The Wolf Among Us. I like that Bixby was this character who was trying to do right, but you could make him do foul. That was the whole detective story they had. You could be a dick to people while investigating, and I thought that was really cool. The Walking Dead is finally ending. Say it ain't so. It's finally about to be over with. And I kind of want to see how Clem's story is going to wrap up. I kind of made a joke that Clem is dead meat. And honestly, I think that's the only way they could end it. By killing off the main character. Or having some situation involved where it seems very hopeless. And Clementine has to make a very, very challenging decision. Even more challenging than the one she made in Season 2 with either killing Jane or letting Kenny kill Jane. I kind of like New Frontier, but the choices pissed me off. And I guess they were listening to fans when fans said, who is Javi? Why is he here? Why you put this dude here? It makes no sense. So now we take control of Clementine for the whole experience, and they are ending it. It's going to be emotional, man. I could tell it's going to be really emotional, but I hope it's not emotional and stupid. I hope it's a really good climax. I hope the quality is really good, just like Season 1 was. Last but not least, we have Batman, The Enemy Within. Granted, they are taking this approach because this trailer, they showed off the most. The other trailers were just either skits or information from the voice actors saying that the games were coming. But this one, they actually showed off some gameplay, some of the game, and they showed Batman off looking at monitors with the green question mark, and I'm like, oh shit, the Riddler. The Riddler is going to be one of the threats in Batman, The Enemy Within. Also, John Doe was talking, and if you don't know who John Doe is, then basically he's the Joker. So I think it's going to be John Doe getting out of Arkham Asylum, going on a killing spree, while the Riddler leaves some clues for Batman, and that could create some interesting dialogues between Batman, or Bruce Wayne and Batman, and the Riddler, because remember, they said in this video in particular, you can control Bruce Wayne and Batman just like the old season. So I assume maybe Bruce is going to get even more closer to a lot of these new villains, as well as John Doe as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if John Doe finds out who Batman really is, because he always seems to not care, but just has that feeling that, yeah, maybe this guy is Bruce Wayne, in the original first season. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. They have this fascination with each other, and I hope that's really explored in the new season. And I enjoyed the ending, it was pretty cool. Even though they were trying something new, and you could tell it was still exciting nonetheless. Alright, so we have the final 3 topics here. We're going to talk about these as quick as I can. The first one is Young Justice is leaving Netflix, so I assume they mean Season 1 and Season 2 is going to leave Netflix in August. Netflix, you son of a bitch. Seriously, this is very disheartening, and I thought they were having Season 3 come on Netflix, so they would keep that up just a little bit longer. That's what I figured, but I guess not. It's very disappointing to see a show leave. I kind of felt like this when they got rid of Futurama. Like, it's just gone. And fans really love this stuff. So I think the reason they are making this decision is because DC is making a streaming service. I forgot what it was called, but they are going to have a new exclusive streaming service that you can subscribe to and get episodes. I assume it's going to work somewhat like Netflix. So they are going to have those 2 seasons probably on that service, so you will be able to watch old Young Justice episodes somewhere on that service, or you can watch it for free on the internet via the hookup with all these websites floating around out there. Once again, like I said, it's disappointing. I need to grab Young Justice on DVD. Show my support. Yeah, and watch all these episodes, man, and get ready for Season 3. That's going to be hype. Next, we have a bit of a surprise. I'm surprised they are showing off all this artwork, all these underutilized concepts, all this cut content that was on the cutting room floor for the Spider-Man Homecoming movie, and that is the fact that Peter was supposed to have a different suit entirely until they scrapped the idea. This suit harkens back to how he looked in Superior Spider-Man when Dr. Otto Octavius took over Peter's mind and made the spider suit. This suit is red and black, and I really like the color, the aesthetic, everything. Everything's great, but I can see why this was not included into the movie, because they wanted to harken back to the original outfit of red, black, and blue. And they did some updates to that suit as well. Obviously, if you already know, Tony Stark is the one who created the new spider suit, so that pretty much reflects on the changes. However, I would not have minded if this suit was in the movie, but for plot reasons, people will probably get confused. They would probably say, oh man, it looks like Superior Spider-Man. Is Dr. Otto Octavius in this movie? Are they going to go down that route? You see the implications with that. You see how many people that are diehard comic fans would get confused. However, I just don't mind when they try new things. I like black over blue any day of the week. And as you can see, this suit looks well designed, well done. I'm surprised they didn't incorporate more concepts from this suit into the new one. That's what makes it so interesting. I really love the black and gray color palettes that are underlying the chest and the arms and the back. That's pretty original. That's pretty unique. And I hope maybe Insomniac games, I hope that they see all these cut concepts and maybe they could put the suits into Spider-Man for the PS4 as some cut content that you can unlock. You can unlock these cut suits. Maybe you can roam around in them. You never know what could happen, especially when it comes to Spider-Man. Now, for the final topic here, we are going to talk about the Disney 23 Expo, or D23 for short. The D23 Expo was this James Bond undercover elusive expo that I had no idea about, that Disney talked about a lot of upcoming releases, film slates, and they also talked about a lot of Marvel material. Mainly, the big news that was dropped there was the fact that Disney were cheeky bastards and they decided to have a Infinity War teaser not shown to the public, or not coming to the public anytime soon, according to Screen Rant. That's very disappointing. That's kind of disappointing. That's a cock tease. I've been waiting to do 10 cock push-ups to see the Avengers Infinity War, and Disney takes it away from me. God damn it. never mind. I'm just being random. This is funny. I really would have loved to see it, but I guess maybe they might save it for San Diego Comic Con because that is right around the corner. It's coming this Saturday. So maybe San Diego Comic Con we might see some facets and some snippets of Avengers Infinity War. They also talked about some leaks on Screen Rant, so I'm gonna pretty much recite them and give my opinion. The first thing was they said that it included Spider-Man and Captain America. Captain America apparently has a beard now. He's apparently a nomadic person after the events of Civil War, which fractured the relationship of Tony and Captain America. Then we saw a blonde Black Widow. That's interesting. We saw Tom Holland with his Spidey senses. Now, there's a bit of controversy with this because apparently people were saying that Tom Holland or Peter Parker in general in the Homecoming movie, he did not have his spider senses. So it seems they put it back into this movie, which is kind of weird. Maybe Peter didn't really hone his abilities too well in Homecoming to explain that. I don't know. It's so weird to see Spider-Man doesn't have his senses in Spider-Man Homecoming or lack thereof, and now it seems like he has them back in Infinity War, so it's kind of strange if you ask me. Anyway, continuing on, we saw glimpses of Iron Man with the Guardians, and we saw Thanos fighting Doctor Strange, Star-Lord, and Iron Man. Ooh, total destruction. Total destruction. We also saw Loki and Thor. Of course, that was a given. And then that was about it. I think also they talked about Don Cheadle saying that War Machine might come back. Remember, War Machine was heavily injured in Captain America Civil War. So it's good to see Rhodey get back on the frame with that. Spider-Man is supposedly going to have a new costume in Avengers Infinity War, probably made from Peter Parker himself. Of course, he's probably going to ditch Tony Stark's outfit and make his own. That's what I'm assuming this is going to be. There's a lot of new Avengers fighting. They also showed off statues of the Black Order, Proxima Midnight, Corius Glaive, Ebony Maw, and Black Dwarf. Some of the Black Order, not all of them. Pretty exciting stuff. I can't wait to see this giant orgasmic smash of everyone just fighting and colliding together. And supposedly, even Mr. Mark Ruffalo himself put out some spoilers of who might die in Avengers Infinity War. Now, I'm not that much of an asshole. I already know what they are, so I'm not going to spoil those in particular. You guys will have to wait until you either go and find them yourself or see the movie. Pick one or the other. I want to get my hands on that footage, man. I want to finally see Avengers Infinity War. I want to see it in action. I want to see this giant clash. I want to see everything they were talking about. It's just a shame that we have to wait until then. This is Renegade Operative signing off. I hope you guys really enjoyed my first solo one-man comic book podcast. I might be talking about Comic-Con news, San Diego Comic-Con news with the Infinite Ammo Syndicate if it's really good. So expect more comic book stuff to come on the channels. I will throw that link out in advance just in case. I cannot wait. This is Renegade Operative signing off. Once again, you can follow me on Twitter at RenOperative_, and you can follow me here on YouTube, obviously, at Renegade Operative. You could also find me on Twitch at Renegade_Operative, and you can find me anywhere else in my About Me, Donate, social media links will be in the description below. And take care, people. I had a lot of fun. I really cannot wait until San Diego Comic-Con. It's going to be a blast, and I will see you guys for the next one. Later.